What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Regular Guys Podcast Show. As y'all know, we're just football. I'm Mike. Of course, we got an early game tomorrow morning at 9:30 coming from Madrid. Um, we'll be talking a lot about that game, but I want to talk about Washington is limping into Week 11, 3-7 on the year. Fresh off the beat down from the Lions, the defense got cooked, and now Dan Quinn says that um and Trey Amos to Marshawn Lattimore, to Ron Payne being suspended, Jaden's out. It's a lot. So we want to jump right into it and get talking about the Week 10 recaps and highlights from there. Um, the injury report. Then we'll preview all the key matchups in Week 11 division games. Surprise. So grab your drink, your headset, notepad, and get ready to roll. Let's do it. First, I want to talk about the Buffalo Bills, Week 1. That was a shocker. Not many people expected Buffalo to get blown out by Miami, 30-13. Um, the Bills look very vulnerable now in the NFC East, the FC East. Plus, they also look vulnerable when it comes to playoff rankings. Everybody's jockeying themselves to make the move to get into the. I want to discuss basically what's wrong with Buffalo and what Miami did well. Buffalo basically got ran on. Um, they let it become a one-dimensional game. You had that one person that took the game over. Jaden Waddle did his thing, and Tua was Tua. It just depends though, because Miami is one of them up and down teams. It's one week they play good, one week they don't. One week they put up 30 points, one week they put up 6. One week they go back and they put up another 30 to 40 points. Next week they put up 0. So it just depends on which Miami team that you get and how you catch them. I think them going to be different because of, and everything that goes along with that. So it's definitely going to be something totally different. I want to get into the next game, which is the Los Angeles Rams. They dominated the 49ers 42-26 in a big NFC West statement game. Where now that's probably a 2-horse race, and given the fact that the 49ers is going back to Brock Purdy and not Matt Jones. I think Matt Jones was doing his thing. Matt Jones got them to where they are right now at a 7-3 record, and I try to ride that hot hand. You got Devontae Harris, so they're making a statement, and then we're gonna see how they react this weekend when they play Seattle in the game of the week. Their offense is clicking. I really don't see no crack in the Rams armor at all in their defense or any been doing. I think Matthew Stafford been doing a heck of a job. I want to get into another big matchup game is the Detroit Lions against the Eagles. I think that is going to be a game one for the ages because I think the Detroit Lions is going to give the Eagles what the Eagles been wanting. I think the Detroit Lions is going to come out and basically, I'm gonna say, give them a good game. Detroit is a complete team on all three phases of the game. They know how to win games. They know how to use their weapons that they have. Jared Goff is playing a good high caliber ball. He's also dis- distributing the ball like he should. He's doing better than what a lot of people thought, especially with the fact that he had a change with his defensive coordinator and his offensive coordinator. So I think, with with Dan Campbell calling the plays and everything, they're going to be another team that a lot of teams is going to say, they can make a deep run. I do think that they can make a deep run into the playoffs. I do think that they're going to make a deep run into the playoffs. Now, do I think that they're going to the point of where they are now? Um, Me personally, no, I don't think so. I don't think that they're going to sustain it like they should, but I do think that they are going to make a nice run. And it also depends on how the Eagles pans out and how the Eagles, you know, um, turn everything around, especially with the AJ Brown drama that's going on in Philly. So that's going to be an interesting watch. But I think this Detroit game is going to be one that is going to be very interesting. I think that's your early game. That's your 1 o'clock game. Um, and then I just want to point, out the fact that you got teams that's starting to get healthy now. And when they get healthy, they make them runs, especially this time of the year. November, December is when you make the runs, get ready to jockey yourself for the the playoffs and making that Super Bowl run. I do think that it's going to be some teams that's going to fall off. I'm going to say these next, what we got, 6 games left after tomorrow. So yeah, these next 6 games, it's really going to show where a team is. Uh, I think also another team, even though they're on the slide, is Washington. I think Washington can make a comeback and win 6 straight. And I'm not going to say make the playoffs, not at 10-7. A lot will have to happen for them to make the playoffs at 10-7. But I think they're going to position themselves where they can try to back in. um, Again, I want to talk about some unexpected wins. I, the Houston Texans came off a big deficit to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars 36-29. CJ Stroud wasn't playing in that game. He was out. So, I think they can continue with the resilience. I think they can continue, you know, and try to make a run. I'm not sure if it's a strong run with the lead that the coach has in the division, but I do think that it's going to give them momentum going into week 11 and a lot of the games that's going to be happening on Sunday. Um, the New Orleans Saints, they ended a 4-game losing streak with a 17-7 win over the Carolina Panthers. What does that mean for the Saints and the Panthers? Well, to me, I think the Saints, they're still they're a team still learning. New coaching staff, they got a couple new players. They're trying to figure out what they're doing at quarterback. They just, I think Keller Moore is trying to find the right fit going into the offseason so he can get ready for year two under him and get that quarterback that he can work with during the offseason and not somebody that he wasn't working with during the offseason. I think Tyler Schruck is going to do his thing um, when they figure out what they want to do, when they figure out Olave, when they figure out um, Alvin Kamara, their running game, their passing game, their defense, their own on defense. Everybody know their defense is has aged. So you got to figure it out. They should have the cap space and they should have enough wiggle room to figure it out. Carolina, they're 5-4. Um, they could make a run. I'm not going to say that they are, but they could. Again, they're like Miami. It just depends on which Carolina team you get and what week you get the right Carolina team. And if they want to keep going with Rico Dalby at as their starter, um, and keep feeding Rico Dalby because they definitely need to to feature him more. Um, I do think that if Carolina do run the ball and put the ball in Rico Dalby's hands, they can actually make some noise and gain some momentum going into the Super Bowl, the playoffs, and however else far they trying to take it. I do feel that Bryce Young has the right weapons around him on both sides on the offensive side of the ball. I think the defense is stepping up. They didn't take a step back. I think they're stepping up. But, I think they underestimated New Orleans too when they played them, which upsetted them, which they got upset. Um, so my final thoughts on week 10 was teams that was supposed to have won one, teams that wasn't supposed to have won one. So but it was shockers on teams that like I'm gonna say Buffalo, who should have beat Miami, um, and Jacksonville, who should have beat Houston, and Carolina, who should have beat the Saints. So, like I said, you had the teams that supposed to have won, and you got the teams that didn't win that's supposed to have won. So we're going to close out that week and jump into week 11. We're going to jump into the game from the other night, the Jets, um, and the Patriots. The Patriots now is the first 9-win team in the NFL. They're the first team to have a bigger lead in their division. I think they're two up on Buffalo right now. And at 9-2, it may be a little bit difficult. I think Mike Vrabel got them playing some good football. I think Drake May has shocked a lot of people and is playing good football at the quarterback position coming out of the class that he came from with Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams and Bo Nix and Michael Pendix. Um, I think he definitely surprised in saying, "Hey, I want to have my name up there as an MVP candidate." But also, look who his offensive coordinator is, Josh McDaniels. I think Josh McDaniels came in. as an OC, took him up underneath for his wing, and now they're playing good football. But they also got a great, solid defense. They have a great offense. Um, and the other night, Stephon Diggs went off. I think he had 8 catches, 105 yards, and 1 touchdown. So, if they keep that up and they keep that momentum going, they could definitely capture that number 2 seed in the AFC. I don't think they're going to get number one. I think the coach is going to handle that number 1 seed because of the fact the coach is right now the hot team out there, and I like the way that Danny Dimes that Indiana Jones is playing. He went from Danny Dimes to Indiana Jones, so I think they're gaining a lot of real momentum. I think a team that's in trouble, a couple teams that's in trouble to me is Buffalo, and I want to say Pittsburgh. It just depends on how they play this Sunday. And I think with this showdown against Cincinnati is going to be very tough. I think they're going to give that. I think they're going to probably have. Well, they're going to have Baltimore knocking on their door, and that's another team that I think they may can make a run, but I doubt. I think they're in trouble as well. I think Baltimore. Think it's too late for them to make that run or make that impact. Um, a brief mention of the standings. If you look at the Colts, if you look at the Patriots, Kansas City, Denver, the Chargers, um, Philly, Green Bay, Seattle, the Rams, Tampa Bay. I think a lot. I think it's going to shape out to a massive run in both divisions, and I think they're going to lock in all 7 seeds probably after Thanksgiving. Between the Thanksgiving and the second week of December, I think the playoff seeding is going to come to a better picture. So, with that said, and everything in the everything in the rearview mirror, let's fire up the crystal ball for Week 11. I want to highlight some marquee games, and I mentioned one of them: the Pittsburgh Steelers and the struggling Cincinnati Bengals. Their defense is struggling, but I think if they can make some stops, I think Cincinnati can win the game this week and basically, shock a lot of people. I do think that they can get back in, but with Joe Burrow coming back, the week of Thanksgiving for that Thanksgiving Day game in Baltimore, I think that if Cincinnati wins this game, they're not out of it, and you got to watch out for Joe Burrow, even even with the Steelers playing at home. Um, Another key matchup that I think is going to be a good, massive one is the Los Angeles Rams versus the Seattle Seahawks. That's a massive game because both teams are 7-2, 8-2. They're both 8-2. Um, Going into week 11 with the 49ers at 7-3 right behind them. So whoever win this game, they got first place in that division. Um, we seen what the Patriots and the Jets did on Thursday night. And we also seen what others is what other teams is basically going to jockey for when it comes to the playoff positioning. There is some injuries to some teams that got injured last week. A few players are out, so It may affect some of the ones in that middle tier of the playoff run, but we'll see. And then you got some teams that's getting a lot of their players back. You got what you definitely got teams like the Eagles. You got you got several teams that is coming back. Is getting their players back. That is getting their um that is getting everything back that they're supposed to be getting back. And I think that they're going to be that team to reckon with. Um, I do think a lot of these teams with their players coming back can definitely make a nice run and can definitely, take the take the playoffs or even take the division. And like I said, it's going to be an interesting week. Um, I think with Washington after this game, they go into their bye week, which basically after Madrid they get back, they're off a whole entire week. So they've been out of the area, and then they've been out of the area all week. So then they come back, and they probably going to stay away even longer with with this bye week coming up, and then they got to jump right into with a Sunday night game here in DC against Denver. So look at them not playing till the 30th. Look at Denver not playing till the 30th as well. So it's going to be interesting to see that. I think it could be some upsets this week. It could be it definitely could be some upsets in the making that we're going to see this week with teams that's going to be coming off of with teams that's coming back off the bye, and then some teams that's going into their bye, or some teams that is playing um to make that playoff push. And I'm thinking with them making a playoff push, it's going to be, I think